name is Ellie Matthews. I never believed in second chances, not after what I'd been through. The scars on my heart ran deeper than the ones on my skin. Both told stories I wished I could forget. They say trauma changes you, reshapes you into someone you barely recognize. I didn't just change. I became an entirely different person. Someone who built walls so high that not even I remembered what existed before them. Boston in autumn was nothing short of magical. The way the leaves painted the city in shades of fire, the crisp morning air that filled my lungs as I jogged through the park. It had been 3 years since I moved here. 3 years since I left everything behind in Seattle. 3 years of carefully constructing a life where no one knew my past. Extra shot of espresso today, Ellie. Marco, the barista at my regular coffee shop, smiled as I approached the counter. Is it that obvious? I ran my fingers through my tangled hair. Late night at the gallery. Photography saved me. When words failed me. When therapy felt pointless. When nightmares stole my sleep. My camera became my voice. What started as a way to process my trauma evolved into a career I never expected. My first exhibition was opening in 2 weeks. A collection titled Beneath the Surface, images that told stories of healing without revealing the wounds. Your usual table is open. Marco handed me my coffee. And congrats on the exhibition. The whole neighborhood is talking about it. I smiled, grateful for small connections that didn't require explanations. That was the thing about starting over. You learn to appreciate simple kindnesses without the weight of history. I settled at my corner table, opening my laptop to review the final selections for the exhibition. That's when I heard it, a laugh that traveled through time, a sound I'd recognize anywhere. No, it couldn't be. I looked up, and the world stopped spinning. Standing at the counter was Noah Sullivan, the boy who once knew every inch of my soul, the man I walked away from without explanation. My past and present colliding in a Boston coffee shop 3,000 miles from where we began. He hadn't seen me yet. I could leave, grab my things and disappear before he turned around, but my body refused to move, frozen in a moment I never prepared for. And then he turned, his eyes meeting mine across the room, recognition washing over his face like a wave. Time hadn't changed the way his eyes crinkled when they widened in surprise, or the way his shoulders tensed when something caught him off guard. Ellie. He approached slowly, as if I might vanish if he moved too quickly. Maybe part of me wanted to. Noah. His name felt foreign on my tongue after years of carefully avoiding it. What are you doing in Boston? I live here now. He gestured to the empty chair across from me. Mind if I sit? Everything inside me screamed to say no, to protect the life I'd built, to shield the fragile peace I'd found. But curiosity won over caution. Sure. Up close, I could see the changes time had carved into him, the faint lines around his eyes, the shorter haircut, the confidence in his posture that replaced the restless energy of his youth. But his eyes, those deep brown eyes, still held the same warmth that once made me feel safe. You look good, Ellie. He smiled softly. Really good. Thanks. I wrapped my hands around my coffee mug, anchoring myself to something solid. How long have you been in Boston? Almost a year. He took a sip of his coffee. I'm heading the trauma research program at Massachusetts General. Of course he was. Noah had always wanted to help people heal, to understand the science behind emotional wounds. My sudden disappearance probably only fueled that passion. That's amazing. I meant it. Despite everything, I had always believed in his potential. You achieved your dream. Almost. Something in his voice made me look up. the unspoken words hanging between us. The dream had included me once. And you? He nodded toward my laptop. What brought you to Boston? Photography. I turned my screen to show him the exhibition layout. I have a show opening soon. His eyes widened. These are incredible, Ellie. You always had an eye for capturing what others missed. He studied the images more closely. There's something familiar about them. Of course there was. He was in every single one of them, though he couldn't see it. The shadows, the light, the spaces between broken things, all reflections of what we once were. I should go. I closed my laptop, suddenly feeling exposed. It was nice seeing you, Noah. Ellie, wait. He reached for my hand but stopped short of touching me. I have 1,000 questions. I stood, gathering my things. I'm sure you do. So do I. But some questions don't have answers we're ready to hear. Can I come? He blurted out. To your exhibition. Would that be okay? Every instinct told me to say no, to protect the boundaries I'd built. But something deeper, something I thought I'd buried years ago, whispered yes. Next Friday, I wrote the gallery address on a napkin. 8 o'clock. Then I walked away, feeling the weight of his gaze on my back, wondering if I just made the biggest mistake of my life, or taken the first step toward healing the one wound that never closed. The week passed in a blur of anxious preparation, each day bringing me closer to opening night, closer to seeing Noah again. I threw myself into work, perfecting every detail of the exhibition, anything to distract from the memories that suddenly refused to stay buried. You seem distracted. My gallery manager Sophia handed me a glass of water as we finalized the lighting. Pre-show jitters? Something like that. Adjusted the frame of a photograph titled Aftermath. A broken window with light streaming through the cracks. Noah had been there when I took it, the day after everything fell apart. Well, whatever's bothering you, channel it into tonight. Sophia squeezed my shoulder. Raw emotion sells art. If only she knew. The emotion behind these images wasn't something you could package and sell. It was jagged and messy and unresolved. Just like Noah and me, the hours ticked by too quickly. Before I knew it, guests were arriving. Critics, collectors, friends I'd made in my new life. I greeted them with practiced smiles, accepting compliments and answering questions about my process, all while my eyes constantly drifted to the door. 8:30, 9:30. He wasn't coming. Relief and disappointment battled for dominance in my chest. The Times critic loves the series. Sophia appeared at my side, champagne in hand. He's particularly drawn to the space between, says it captures intimate distance in a way he's never seen. The space between was the centerpiece of the exhibition. Two silhouettes facing each other, close but separated by a translucent barrier, light and shadow playing between them. It was the most personal piece in the collection, the most painful to create. Excuse me, I needed air. The gallery suddenly felt too crowded, too loud. I slipped through a side door into the small garden area, grateful for the cool night air against my skin. It's about us, isn't it? His voice came from the shadows. Noah stepped forward, hands in the pockets of his dark suit. The exhibition. It's our story. I couldn't lie to him. Not about this. Parts of it. Why didn't you tell me? He moved closer, close enough that I could see the conflicting emotions in his eyes. Why did you disappear, Ellie? One day we were planning our future, and the next you were gone. No explanation, no goodbye, Nothing. The question I'd been dreading. The answer I wasn't sure I could give. I was protecting you. My voice cracked on the last word. From what? Frustration edged his tone. What could possibly justify cutting me out of your life completely? Do you have any idea what that did to me? I closed my eyes, feeling tears threaten. I was broken, Noah, beyond repair. After the attack, the words stuck in my throat. I rarely spoke about it. The night that changed everything. The night that left me with scars both visible and invisible. The attack didn't change how I felt about you. His voice softened. Nothing could. It changed how I felt about myself. The truth finally escaped. I couldn't be who you needed, who you deserved. I was drowning in trauma and shame and rage. I didn't want to pull you down with me. That wasn't your decision to make. Noah stepped closer, his gaze intense. We promised to face everything together, the good and the bad. Remember? Of course I remembered. The promises we made under starlit skies. The future we planned, before a random act of violence shattered it all. I wasn't thinking clearly. I wrapped my arms around myself. I just knew I couldn't be what you needed, and I couldn't bear to see the moment when you realized it too. Noah was quiet for a long moment, his expression unreadable in the dim garden light. Then he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. I've spent 5 years trying to understand trauma. He took a careful step toward me. 5 years studying how it rewires the brain, changes perception, convinces people of things that aren't true. Another step. And do you know what I've learned? I shook my head, unable to speak. Healing doesn't happen in isolation. He was close enough now that I could feel the warmth of him. Connection is essential, even when it's terrifying, especially then. I thought I was doing the right thing. My voice wavered. I know, he nodded. That's why I could never truly be angry with you. Just heartbroken. For both of us. Silence settled between us. Not uncomfortable, but heavy with unspoken words, with missed years, with possibilities. Your exhibition is beautiful, Noah finally said. You've turned pain into something meaningful. That takes incredible strength. I'm still broken. The admission slipped out before I could stop it. We all are. He smiled gently. Some breaks just heal more visibly than others. A memory surfaced. Noah at 22, studying for med school exams, explaining how broken bones often grow back stronger at the fracture site, how the body reinforces its weakest points. I should get back inside. I gestured toward the gallery. People are waiting. Noah nodded, understanding. Can we talk again? Maybe coffee. No expectations, just conversation. The smart answer was no. To maintain the boundaries I'd built. The safe distance that protected us both. But I was tired of making decisions from a place of fear. I'd like that. His smile, genuine and hopeful, awakened something I thought had died years ago. Something that had been waiting, dormant but not destroyed. Coffee became dinner. Dinner became walks through the public garden. Walks became conversations that stretched into the night. Slowly, carefully, we relearned each other, not as the people we once were, but as who we had become. Noah told me about his research, the patients he'd helped, the book he was writing about trauma recovery. I told him about my journey through photography, how capturing broken things helped me see beauty in imperfection, in myself. We avoided discussing us, what we were, what we could be, until one night when avoidance was no longer possible. We sat on a bench, overlooking the Charles River, watching the sunset paint the water gold. My exhibition had closed the week before, but Noah had purchased the space between, said it belonged with him. I never stopped loving you. He spoke without looking at me, eyes fixed on the horizon. I tried, even dated someone for almost 2 years, but they weren't you. My heart raced, the confession I'd both longed for and dreaded. Noah, I started, but he gently interrupted. You don't need to say anything. Now he turned to me, his expression open and vulnerable. I'm not asking for promises. I just needed you to know, after all these years, that truth deserves to exist in the open. I looked at his familiar face, at the eyes that had always seen beyond my defenses, at the man who understood trauma better than most because he'd lived through his own and mine. I'm scared. The most honest words I could offer. Of what? He asked gently. Of ruining you. I swallowed hard. Of not being enough. Of the darkness that still lives inside me. Noah reached for my hand, his touch hesitant. When I didn't pull away, he interlaced our fingers. The first time we'd truly touched since reconnecting. What if I told you? His voice was soft but steady, that I'm not afraid of your darkness, that maybe my light and your shadow belong together, balance each other. Tears filled my eyes. Then I'd say you're either very brave or very foolish, probably both. He laughed softly, but I'd rather be brave and foolish than safe and incomplete. The sun disappeared below the horizon, leaving the sky in that magical space between day and night, between ending and beginning, between past and future. I never stopped loving you either. The truth I'd carried for 5 years finally set free, even when I convinced myself it was better to stay away. Noah's hand tightened around mine, not possessive, but present, solid, real. So where does that leave us? He asked, hope and caution mingling in his voice. I thought about all we'd been through, the trauma that separated us, the healing we'd each found alone, the scars that would always be part of our story. At the beginning, I met his gaze, allowing myself to be truly seen, a different beginning than before, with eyes wide open, with all our scars visible. Noah smiled, a smile that reached his eyes and warmed my heart. I like beginnings. That night, under a sky full of stars, we started writing a new chapter, not erasing the pain of our past, but incorporating it into the foundation of something stronger, something real. Healing isn't linear. I still have nightmares, still flinch at unexpected touches, still struggle with trust. Noah has his own demons, days when research triggers memories, nights when he blames himself for not protecting me, for not finding me sooner. But we face it together now, the hard days and the beautiful ones, the setbacks and the breakthroughs. We've learned that love doesn't erase trauma, it doesn't have to. Love creates space for healing, for growth, for becoming something new from the broken pieces. 6 months after our reunion, I held my second exhibition, Kintsugi Hearts, named after the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold, embracing the damage as part of an object's history, making something more beautiful because it had been broken. Noah stood beside me at the opening, his presence a quiet strength, his hand occasionally finding mine, not to possess, not to control, but to remind me that I wasn't alone in the journey. This one's my favorite. An older woman stopped before a photograph titled The Meeting Place, 2 silhouettes facing each other, the space between them filled with golden light. There's such hope in it. Noah squeezed my hand gently. Yes, I smiled, feeling the truth of it deep in my bones. There is. My name is Ellie Matthews. I never believed in second chances, not after what I'd been through, until life gave me one anyway. Now I believe that sometimes the deepest scars create space for the greatest healing, and that love, real love, doesn't demand perfection. It simply asks for honesty, for courage, for the willingness to begin again, even when it's terrifying, especially then. The scars between us no longer separate, they connect, reminding us of all we've survived, all we've overcome, to find our way back to each other. And that is the most beautiful story of all. If you were touched by Ellie and Noah's journey of healing and second chances, please hit that like button and share their story with someone who needs hope today. Leave a comment sharing your own experience with healing or love. Subscribe to our channel for more emotional stories that heal the heart while improving your English. Every subscription helps us create more powerful stories of transformation. Together, let's explore the beautiful scars that connect us all.